Hello. So I was listening to a podcast today and I thought I would share some thoughts that I had about it. The topic was mainly about dating and relationships, and it was spoken about from one of the world's leading psychotherapists. So all she does is deal with people in relationships. Anyway, I found this topic really fascinating because I have noticed a lot of this in my daily life and heard a lot of people talk about this. I've had personal experiences and then of course also friends and family members with experiences. And I had this idea that came to me, and it wasn't explicitly talked about in the podcast at all. It was just an idea, or rather a simplification of an idea. And I am so sick of hearing, I'll just say women specifically, because I'm not as familiar with what it's like to be on the men's side of dating in heterosexual dating. Please take my comments with a grain of salt. I am not a therapist or relationship expert by any means. So I'm so sick of hearing women say that their standards or must-haves for men are things like, he's got to be at least 6 foot or 6'2", God. He's got to make this amount of money. He's got to have this kind of hair, or he's got to be well-traveled and emotionally responsible and yada, 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 right? The list goes on. And I'm just like, you're describing like a Superman. And I have a couple trains of thoughts on this. And one of them is, if you're putting in the work to be somebody of that caliber, you deserve someone like that. You deserve to have somebody that also is well-rounded and checks off the boxes. My problem with this, however, is most people are not very well-rounded, and most people are expecting and demanding everything from the person that they're hoping to date or become life partners with, and they're not taking a realistic look in the mirror. So this concept that came to my mind was, we need to make a graph, and there needs to be 2 categories. There needs to be standards, and there needs to be preferences. And things like, oh, he's got to dress a certain way, got to have a certain kind of hair color, certain ethnic background. That one's a little iffy, but we're still going to put that in preference. God, the freaking height, 6'2" thing. Those are preferences. Those by no means determine somebody's value as a life partner, how good they're going to treat you, how reliable they're going to be, any of those things. And then standards. Standards are more of like the non-negotiables, the necessities for not only attracting a valuable relationship, but maintaining one long term. Both men and women need to be aware of this. The key differences, preferences and standards. I would also throw icks. I hate that term, icks. There's a lot of modern terms that I don't like nowadays. Icks is one of them. Icks goes into the preference category. If you don't like that someone is wearing that belt with those shoes or has a Velcro wallet, throw that in your preferences, because that could be the most ideal life partner you could be seeking. And the fact that you're not going to give that person a chance because they have a Velcro wallet or some stupid ass thing, then clearly you're also not at a mature mental and emotional level to be able to handle a partner of value. If you're going to get so thrown off by a tiny ick. Now, a counter example to this that would be put in the standards category would be, are they a cheater and do they have a repeat history of cheating? Are they a deadbeat? Do they not only not try or excel at their job or their career, but are they perfectly happy with being jobless and allowing you to take up that financial burden? Are they lazy when it comes to their hygiene or their living space? Does this person have a weak sense of self where they really just rely on you to entertain them? These are much bigger than icks. These are definitely standards. Everybody's got a different level of standards, but I think for the majority, most people, or I guess mainly women, I'm taking mostly a feminine side on this, a lot of those are non-negotiables. One of the things that the doctor, link her name in this so you can go do further research on her work and her studies, because like I said, I'm just a normal person on the internet talking out of my ass. I'm not a relationship expert personally. One thing that she encourages is for people to develop higher standards, and I think that's great. But then also focus more on the most important essential standards of what makes somebody a quality long-term partner. Don't focus on the icks so much, and don't let little things completely negate somebody's amazing qualities. Now, there are little things that can be triggers to bigger things, and she actually used a great example of this. I'll just use the example she used in the podcast. You're on a date and you go out for coffee, something small, right? And when it comes time to pay, the man sits there and is expecting you to split the bill with him on a coffee, a $5 coffee. He's expecting you to split the bill. And you sit there and you wait because you're not going to pay for that coffee. And then eventually It becomes very awkward, and he even says, do you want to put your card down? And I mean, you have two options here. You can either say no straight up and just not, which I actually would recommend, because that man needs to have some awareness brought to him why that's not okay. It's more than just the coffee, you know what I mean? It actually is like a tell for a bigger character sign. Anyway, so she, like, in this example, the woman paid for the coffee, she split the bill, and then she did not go on a second date. Good. Because that is a little tell. That's not an ick. That is a direct showing of somebody's generosity, for example. That man is clearly not very generous, because if he actually really liked her and enjoyed her company and enjoyed her time and was willing to invest, keyword invest, in this person that he so very much liked, why was it even a thought that he couldn't just pick up her tab for a freaking coffee? And like, that's one of those little things that would be reflective of a bigger standard. So it's good to be really aware of even little things like that. Personally, if I had a man that did that, it would be such a huge turn off. They would not get a second date. The lack of generosity, clearly the lack of interest and respect for the woman. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, I just really wanted to come on here and be like, stop saying your man needs to be 6'2". You know, that's just, you could be missing out on so many amazing 5'5" kings out there that would just absolutely treat you like a goddess, a queen, an empress, a majesty. Anyway, so yeah, something to think about. Have a nice day.